The Marvels is the latest MCU movie, with this movie focusing on Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and Miss Marvel. And this is one of those Marvel movies that I really didn't have a lot of interest in seeing because over time this movie has been delayed multiple times, it had a lot of reshoots, and some of the early critic reviews were not that good. However, after the opening weekend, I saw a lot of people on social media posting, it's like, it's a good movie, don't listen to the critics, it was fun. So I thought I need to go check this out and see for myself. I gotta say, I'm gonna fall on the side of the critics with this one. See, fun is a subjective term, and for me, a fun movie is one that has really interesting characters, really good writing, some good effects and action if that's that sort of movie, and unfortunately, the Marvels didn't have a lot of that. Now, starting off in the movie, I was really concerned about how they were going to introduce two characters that had only been seen on Disney Plus shows, Monica Rambeau and Miss Marvel. But I gotta say, they did a pretty decent job as they introduced these characters, kind of told their backstory enough to where you would know what they're about. So you really didn't need to see those TV shows, you could kind of pick up on it as you go. And at the beginning of the movie, you are introduced to something that's going on between them that's teased in the trailers, that when they use their powers, they switch places, which is somewhat of a running plot line throughout most of the movie. And how do they deal with that? And they're trying to figure out what is causing that. And it's at that point where we're introduced to our villain. And I got to say, this is one of the most plain vanilla villains I've seen in quite a long time. It's a rubber stamp villain who's introduced, they're bad for a certain reason, and then the heroes need to deal with them. There wasn't anything particular interesting about the villain. It was just felt like, okay, this antagonist needs to be there so that the protagonist can go and deal with it. And then it's after that the villain is introduced, we kind of get the plot of the movie and what the villain is trying to do. And I heard this and read this, and I thought it can't be true, but it is. The plot of this movie is Spaceballs. And in a comedy movie, you can have a lot of fun with this plot, do some interesting things with it. It just didn't really go over well here. But all that aside, I was still going along with the movie, following it and everything. And then a side quest occurred, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it has to do with something called a singing planet. And that, for me, is when the wheels fell off this movie and it never got back on track again. Then after that, there was another thing that happened that I'll just have to say, without giving any spoilers away, has to do with cats, that at this point, Vanessa and I were looking at each other going, what is going on? What are we watching? And also another thing that's kind of a shame too is Nick Fury's in this movie. And this is supposed to take place after Secret Invasion, that was a series on Disney Plus. The Nick Fury in that TV series is way different than the Nick Fury here. And there was just a huge disconnect between those two characters. In Secret Invasion, he's downtrodden. He's like old and slow and everything. And here he's his peppy, fun, happy self. And it was honestly one of those things that he really didn't need to be in the movie at all. But I'm sure Samuel L. Jackson got a nice paycheck out of it. After those couple scenes, you're going to end up with the big fight scene at the end of the movie. And it was just not really well done. Have you ever seen fight scenes where they do these really quick cuts where you can't really see what is going on? It's like punch cut, and you can't see the results of what's happening. That's really what was going on here, and you just really couldn't keep up with it. And the fact, as we teased earlier, they can switch positions, so they were swapping positions all over the place. It was just really hard to follow, and then all of a sudden, the fight was over. And then that was pretty much it. And then put on that on really bad dialogue and some really bad CGI, there wasn't a lot there to redeem itself, except for a couple things. One is Miss Marvel, or Kamala. The actress that played that character, I thought did an amazing job. In the movie, she is a huge fangirl of Captain Marvel, and she's just giddy when she meets her. And you could just feel that excitement. And it feels like the actress was just excited to be playing this role, and it carried over into that character. And watching her and her eyes getting all wide and everything when she met Captain Marvel, that was really cool. And her family's also in it, which was a really nice dynamic too. So all that was kind of heartwarming. They were funny together, so I really appreciated that. But there was one point in the movie I thought they were going to go down this storyline that they didn't, when Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel were working together, and Captain Marvel made a decision that kind of stumped Miss Marvel, like, why are you doing this? And I thought, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be a time for her to grow and realize, hey, you know what? When you meet a hero in real life, they're not exactly what you think they are. And instead of me wanting to be them, I want to be my own person. But it really never went beyond that. Look, you can tell this movie was cut up and reshot and pieced together all over the place. The flow wasn't there. The pacing just seemed off. And early screenings of this didn't test well at all, which is why they started doing all these reshoots. And when you start doing reshoots and starting to patchwork things together, sometimes it was obvious, and it was really obvious in several spots here. So beyond that, what's really surprising about this is that the first Captain Marvel movie made $1 billion worldwide. This movie isn't going to sniff that. In fact, the opening weekend for the Marvels is the worst opening ever for a Marvel movie, going back to The Incredible Hulk in 2008. The Incredible Hulk made $55 million. This movie made $46 million. But it's even worse than that. I went and did some little calculations and did some searching on the interwebs and found that the average ticket price in 2008 was $7.16. And the average ticket price now is around $10.50. So after some quick calculations, approximately 7.6 million tickets were sold for the opening weekend of Incredible Hulk, while only 4.4 million were for the Marvels. So the question is, what is going on? Is it hero fatigue? Is it just not appealing to the masses anymore? Well, it's obviously not appealing to the masses anymore because they're not coming out to see these movies. So what is Disney going to do? Are they going to see this and kind of retool? We've already seen that they've pushed some movies that were supposed to come out next year into the following year. One of those being Captain America. And get this, it was just announced that Captain America 4 was not screening very well. And for the first several months of 2024, they're going to start doing reshoots. So once again, red flags are going to start popping up. So for all those people that I saw that said they had a really fun time with this movie, I don't deny it. I'm sure they did. It's just that for me, personally, it just wasn't a lot of fun. I don't think it's one of those movies you need to rush out to the theater to see, because it's probably going to be on streaming pretty soon. And if you want to watch it, you can watch it then. There is one mid-credit scene that you may have heard some buzz about. If you want to, you can go find it online. It's out there if you just want to see it, because it's setting up some things in the future, which is what they do with every Marvel movie. So if you want to go see what that's about and not want to watch the movie, you can find it there too. So what do you think? Why do you think there's not a lot of appeal for this movie or many of the recent Marvel or DC movies? Is it just hero fatigue? Are they just not as good anymore? Let me know in the comments.